When we talk about title transfer, private parties transfer title to other private parties using a deed. Government transfers ownership to private parties using a land patent. Private parties transfer ownership to government using a dedication. With title transfer, there's a few definitions that we need to go over. The first is the definition of alienation. Alienation simply means the act of transferring title. Now, there's a few types of transfers. There's voluntary alienation, which is the voluntary transfer of real property. Now, types of voluntary alienation include transfer of title by will, which occurs when someone dies testate. Testate means the deceased person had a valid will. A gift of real property by will is called a devise. A gift of personal property is called a bequest. In a will, a person devises real property and bequeaths personal property. A will must be filed with the court and probated for title to pass upon the death of the property owner. Wills cannot supersede any state laws protecting the inheritance rights of a surviving spouse, such as dower rights or courtesy rights, or benefits granted by homestead laws. Probate is the process of distributing all of a deceased person's assets. When a person dies intestate, which means without leaving a valid will, a probate transfer of title occurs according to a state's statute of descent and distribution. In some states, these are called the intestate laws of the state. Property distribution is governed by the laws of the state where the property is located. Involuntary alienation is the transfer of real property interests without the owner's consent. Forms of involuntary alienation are escheat, eminent domain, foreclosure, and adverse possession. Escheat means the property is taken by the state when a deceased owner has no heirs. Eminent domain is property taken for public good or use by a government agency. Foreclosure is property taken by a creditor. And adverse possession is title granted by a court to a party who possesses property in an open, continuous, exclusive, actual, and notorious manner without the owner's consent. And that open, notorious, continuous, and exclusive use has to continue for a minimum statutory time period. Each state has its own statutory time period for adverse possession. Here's a memory aid for adverse possession. Ocean, O-C-E-A-N. Possession must be open, that's the O. Continuous, that's the C. Exclusive, that's the E. Actual, that's the A. And notorious. Open, continuous, exclusive, actual, and notorious. And remember, notorious means hostile or without permission. An easement by prescription is an easement prescribed by the court. Keyword, prescribe. Easement by prescription must be prescribed by a court. Now, with both easement by prescription and adverse possession, if all parties recognize, accept, and permit the possession or the use of the property, it cannot be an adverse possession and it cannot be an easement by prescription.